all troubled by this terrible leak, really a breach of their oath at the Supreme Court. This leak of this draft opinion by Sam Alito, who is a practicing Catholic, which has triggered a new round of attacks on Catholics, and in this case, Catholics on the Supreme Court. By kind of the luck of history, there's a lot of Catholics on the Supreme Court right now, and a lot of those Catholics believe in the Constitution, which is kind of an old-fashioned notion, right? Actually believe in the Constitution. And so
it's an old-fashioned notion, but it's definitely where we need to be in terms of protecting our Constitution.
Well, let's just say that
the court shouldn't be making laws; they should be interpreting the laws, as we learned back in the day.
Yeah, let's just say that there was a time when liberals and conservatives understood that the Constitution was the law,
right.
And now it's just constitutionalists who believe in that, and the other side believes that it's a kind of a document that you can refer to, but it shouldn't really govern our actions. So anyway, the draft opinion is out there, and now we have the left, instead of focusing, as they did a little bit ago, on all this question of race and trying to create racial animosity, now they want to create religious animosity, and they want to attack people of faith, specifically Catholics. They're disrupting Catholic masses, they're defacing, which are by and large faith-based pro-life organizations, and we are going to bring...
They're going to the Supreme Court justices' homes. I mean, just
right.
think about it, where many of these justices, they have families, they have children that are in elementary school, middle school, high school, having to deal with this. It's very distressing, and it's something that obviously we're very concerned about, the safety of our Supreme Court justices. Obviously, this is what we call the left mob mentality, where what they try to do is put so much fear into people's lives, so much pushing these bullying tactics, especially for practicing Catholics and people of faith. And I got to tell you, our church was jam-packed on Sunday, Matt. They were not going to take it from these leftists trying to, what I say, destabilize the Supreme Court and also try to create fear in our churches.
Yeah, I do think you're right. There was a lot of people. I talked to a priest who actually we were spending some time with, and he was asking, was it safe to go to church? And I think that's what they want us to all feel, just like they wanted us to feel like it wasn't safe for somebody during the riots of Black Lives Matter to walk the streets of Washington, D.C. or New York or whatever. They're trying to intimidate us, and they're trying to intimidate the court. This is the thing that's really never been done in our history. They're trying to intimidate the court with this draft circulated so that any justice who's kind of on the fence on how bold to be might be less bold because they fear for violence in the country. And who better to talk about this than the National Director of Priests for Life, Father Frank Pavone. Father Pavone, thanks for being with us again.
Matt and Mercy, it's always great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we really want to talk about what we're seeing basically unravel before our eyes. This leftist mob mentality, almost like this satanic possession of these people who are literally calling for the killing of the unborn and really trying to push this, what I would say, extreme agenda, and do it in a way that I think incites violence. Your thoughts on what you've seen on the ground as these protests are happening, especially here in Washington, D.C.?
Well, of course, I share your concern and outrage over the unprecedented actions that the left is taking. But first of all, I just want to say I'm more feeling the overwhelming joy and anticipation of a tremendous victory. It looks as though the Supreme Court is going to do everything that we have been working and praying for 5 decades. So we're at a moment of a tremendous, tremendous victory if indeed they reverse both Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. But as we have always said over these decades, the closer we get to victory, the more unpredictable and violent the other side is going to become. And it teaches us a few things. First of all, as you know, over these decades, we've been talking about a phrase called the abortion distortion. What it means, whether you're talking about in the arena of law or other aspects of our culture, anything that abortion touches all the normal rules go out the window. No common sense, no fairness, no normal rules apply. So wouldn't you know that if there was going to be an unprecedented break in the Supreme Court's process and confidentiality, that it would be the abortion issue of all the other issues the court deals with that would bring about that break. So with that, we should not at all be surprised. And then why do they attack the churches? Why aren't they protesting at the state capitals? You know, if in fact the court is going to put back into the legislators' hands the question of the legality of abortion. Well, because first of all, this is their sacrament. When we restrict abortion, it's like we're attacking their church. We're attacking their dogma. We're depriving them of their sacrament. There's this deep spiritual battle going on. We say, this is my body given up for you. When we say the Mass, they say, this is my body. I can do what I want, even if it means killing the baby. So there's a deep spiritual conflict being exposed here, being brought to the surface. And finally, the other reason they're acting like spoiled children is that they are spoiled children. Think about this. The Supreme Court gave them on a silver platter abortion on demand back in 1973. They didn't have to work the legislative process. They didn't have to do the difficult give and take of legislative hearings and debates and amendments and persuading the lawmakers. No, they were just presented this on a platter. Now, when it looks like it's being taken away from them, all they can do is throw a tantrum. They can't take the measured, mature approach of using the lawmaking process that our founders gave us and that the Supreme Court now wants to put the abortion issue back into. They don't know how to use that process, and they don't care about it. But this is a fruit of Roe v. Wade because it treated them like children from day one.
You know, I think all of us obviously would wish that there was never an abortion that would ever happen anywhere ever again. But one of the things that's unique about America is abortion has been at the center of our politics for so long, mostly because the justices in 1973 took it away from the legislative process. They didn't allow the American people to learn and think and decide which candidates they'd support in the state legislatures and what laws they would support. It was taken from them, which created it, which made it a much bigger controversy. And by the way, in America, we had much more pro-abortion laws than they had even throughout Europe, which we always considered more liberal.
Right. Yeah, isn't it fascinating? You know, this is what the people have to understand. The Supreme Court took abortion, plucked it out of the democratic lawmaking process, and gave it this special constitutional status. No other medical procedure has a constitutional status. And we see that has short-circuited not only the lawmaking process, but the discussion of this issue itself. Look at what the court did with this Mississippi law, out of which this Dobbs case comes. They want to protect babies from 15 weeks, and the district court didn't even listen to any of the arguments or the evidence that the lawmakers put forward for passing this law. They didn't want to hear about the science, about the harm abortion does to women, about the cultural changes that make it easy for moms easier to have their children. No, they dismissed all of that, and they said, oh, well, it's pre-viability, case closed, discussion ended. And when you think about it, there's a similar short-circuiting that has taken place in the public discussion of abortion in our culture. It's like people will say, oh, but it's a constitutional right, the court said. Again, end of discussion. People don't even have a chance to consider all the many reasons why we should not be allowing this procedure legally. So now, with what the court is doing, in taking away that special status and putting abortion back into the rough and tumble, if you will, of the lawmaking process, it's like maybe now we can have a better discussion about it around the kitchen table, and the idea that, oh, it's a constitutional right, that in other words, that the beginning of the conversation would be the beginning, not the end of it, just by somebody making that dogmatic statement.
Well, it's been interesting. I think, Matt, you were watching the Sunday shows, which I can barely even watch, and you were mentioning how the media narrative is so much that they're trying to literally almost put a banner up to be like, you know, keep Roe v. Wade in place. So they are trying desperately to say how many people, how many women are going to die if Roe v. Wade is overruled. And you've also seen corporate America also now, many of these companies coming out saying, well, we'll pay for your abortion. We'll just fly you first class to another state. So they're involved also in, I would say, in just advancing and promoting abortions instead of, like you were saying, having these real discussions of what the consequences, the brutal consequences of abortion really means for women, really means for these babies. And so, and then Biden was caught by using the word abort a child, which the left went crazy about, because he's, quote unquote, not using the right language. So it's always, I think, with the left, this push on changing language, on trying to push this narrative and creating this enormous amount of fear. I mean, do you think that those that are kind of like on the fence, not knowing, do you think that they're going to understand what the extremism of what the leftists are trying to push?
Well, yes. In fact, I'm constantly getting messages from people, including people in the political arena, who say, you know, I've always been sort of partially pro-choice or maybe even haven't paid much attention to this. But over the last few years, there has been a wave of people who said, you know, I never realized how extreme the Democrats are on this, the abortion industry and Planned Parenthood are on this. When states like New York, it started in 2019, when it came under Democrat control completely in the legislature, and they passed this law that said no limitations or restrictions at all throughout pregnancy up to birth. A number of other states, as you know, have followed suit along those lines. And this is waking people up. It really is. And then you add to that this bizarre behavior that these people are expressing. People are just astonished by this. And here's what it says to me, too. The way that the other side is pushing back against this draft opinion, I say to them, you know, I thought that you believed that most of the people are on your side already. I thought that you believed your own rhetoric that, hey, this is settled law. The American people are on our side. Most of them don't want Roe v. Wade to go away. So then what's the problem? What are you so upset about? Relax. You still have the lawmaking process. If you have such a persuasive position, make your case. Make your case. Convince the lawmakers and pass these extreme laws like New York, New Jersey, Colorado now have. You shouldn't be worried about anything if you believe your own rhetoric. Fact of the matter is they don't believe their own rhetoric because their own rhetoric is wrong. The American people are not with them. They don't accept abortion, and this is not settled law.
Something that this guy by the name of Chuck Todd, who hosts this show, by the way, by the name of Meet the Press, which all of us used to watch, and I think hardly any of us watch anymore, but I watched it. And it was amazing, the duplicity. He put poll numbers up on the screen from important states that implied that these states were all overwhelmingly pro-choice because he said, do you think abortion should stay legal? As we all know, there's a lot of detail in what it means to have legal abortion. Even some of these laws that the Supreme Court is considering in Mississippi, they're not outright bans, but they would ban a whole range of abortions. So it's so dishonest. And even the term pro-life and pro-choice, when politicians grab them and journalists use them, they don't always tell you everything. And here's the thing that I just couldn't believe. The Attorney General of Michigan goes on Meet the Press, and in Michigan they have a law, I think, that would essentially ban abortion if Roe v. Wade is overturned. She goes, I'm not going to enforce that law. Mm-hmm. We're in a moment when liberals or anti-constitutionalists or socialists, whatever you want to call them, even when they're the Attorney General, they decide what laws they will enforce and what laws they conveniently won't.
Yep. Yes, again, the abortion distortion, none of the rules apply. You know, even Roe v. Wade, I've been pointing this out during this whole controversy, said very clearly, it said, you know, some people coming before this court are trying to say that the abortion right is absolute and that nobody can interfere with what the mother decides or put any restriction on it. And then they go on to say, with this, we do not agree. So Roe v. Wade did not, even though it tried to put abortion, as we said before, as a fundamental right, and now the court is bringing it down a few notches, nevertheless, they did not agree with this idea that it's an absolute right and nobody should interfere with it in any way, shape, or form. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to realize, wait a minute, Roe v. Wade is not what we thought it was.
Right. Well, Father Frank Pavone, stay with us. We have a lot more to talk about because I think this is such an important issue that so many people are following right now. We will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Schlapp with CPAC, and it's my privilege to tell you that we've got a very important project that we have just announced, the First Amendment Fund. It's a brand new fund that we've created through our criminal justice reform efforts to raise money to take care of you, Americans who are being canceled and desecrated out there around the country. We know it just happened in Virginia, where parents were called domestic terrorists by the Biden administration, where people who just want to express their political views are canceled left and right. Now we have this terrible specter of a vaccine mandate where you can lose your job or be prevented from going to a restaurant or go to school according to your vaccination status. These are all the things that are happening in this country that are making people realize that America is in a fight to defend the principles that have made her great. If you want to be involved in this important effort, please go to conservative.org, click the link for the First Amendment Fund. Please donate to this C3 to help these victims across the country, including those who are just involved in politics, to make sure they have the legal representation they need to be able to live their great American life.
These activists posted a map with the home addresses of the Supreme Court justices. Is that the kind of thing this president wants to help your side make their point?
Look, I think the president's view is that there's a lot of passion, a lot of fear, a lot of sadness from many, many people across this country about what they saw in that leaked document. We obviously want people's privacy to be respected. We want people to protest peacefully if they want to protest. That is certainly what the president's view would be.
So he doesn't care if they're protesting outside the Supreme Court or outside someone's private residence?
I don't have an official U.S. government position on where people protest. We want it, of course, to be peaceful.
I mean, it's really shocking to hear Jen Psaki not take the opportunity to say, how about we take a rest at people's homes? Some of these justices have young kids. Why don't we just not try to interrupt their homes? Just like, remember Ted Cruz and others when they would eat out, there was the desire to disrupt everything they did publicly. Father, did you ever think that it would get this raw and rough out there on the street?
You know, we in the pro-life movement over the years, when there have been incidents where folks on our side of the issue acted inappropriately, it was a swift, unadulterated, immediate condemnation of any kind of violent behavior from all the leaders of the movement. And now we see these folks on the other side literally and essentially justifying these kinds of intimidation tactics that could lead to violence. I mean, it is really, it really speaks to what kind of people these are and what kind of position they have, what kind of character they have. I am, in one sense, not surprised because we've seen the heart and core of the abortion industry over these years, and we try to expose it to the American people. You know, I always say you can't practice vice virtuously.
Yeah.
And you think about it.
Point.
If your conscience, right? If your conscience is so seared that you can literally pull the arms and legs off of a living baby, you'll do anything.
Well, you're right about that, Father. And the other part of this is what's really annoying is that, President Biden, who obviously is, he calls himself a Catholic. I don't judge anyone in terms of their faith, but the mere fact that he won't speak up and defend our Catholic churches, obviously defend the Supreme Court justices, call for safety of these Supreme Court justices. I mean, I find that to be hugely troubling.
Yeah, it's not hard to do. I mean, this is just, common decency, but they can't do it because, again, Abortion is a dogma for these people, and they don't want the slightest bad thing said about it. That's why they ignore, when we bring forward our men and women of our Silent No More campaign, those that have had abortions are speaking out. They don't want to, they say on the one hand, listen to the voices of women. And on the other hand, when the women say, I regret my abortion, they don't want their voices heard. So it's the same here. Not the very slightest thing that could reflect negatively or stop the other side from what they're doing.
There's also the vandalizing of the Wisconsin Family Action organization. I mean, It seems like the abortion activists they're not going to stop any time soon. You actually tweeted something out about where are the voices of the hypocritical president, Speaker of the House, who claim to love their Catholic faith so dearly, when abortion fanatics call for the disruption of church services this weekend. Of course, we already know they love abortion more than their faith. I think that captured very much where we are right now in this battle. And the reality is that the U.S., compared to other countries, almost all other countries except 6 or 7 of these countries, we're extreme when it comes to killing the babies till go straight into 8 or 9 months, and
now the post-birth abortions that are now it's just grisly.
It's outrageous. As soon as you put choice over life and you break that principle that no innocent life can be taken and no government can authorize that, then nobody's safe, and it just keeps rolling and expanding like we're seeing it.
Do you expect the leadership of the church to come out and speak up as well? They've also been They've been a little quiet, more quiet than I would have anticipated.
Mercy, it's patchy, isn't it? There are some that are very strong and vocal. Most are cowardice. They're cowardly. They're cowardly when it comes to election time. It'd be interesting to see what they end up saying once the official decision comes out, which I'm confident is going to hold for the overturning of Roe. But we're living in a time of weak church leadership. There's no other way to put it. And
weak political leadership too, Father. They seem to go hand in glove. How we pine for the days of Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan and Pope John Paul II. We need people to lead.
We need people to lead. And, this is where I always see these parallels between what's happened in politics with President Trump and his kind of leadership and how that has transformed American politics to politicians knowing that it's not enough just to take the right position. You got to know how to fight for it. That's exactly what we need in the church and do not have. Sure, any of these bishops, they take the right positions doctrinally for the most part, but, it's that unwillingness to really stand up and fight for it. This is what we're suffering from.
This is, I'm going to say something publicly, which I say privately, which gets me into a lot of trouble. So it's usually with my spouse, but I keep telling people we need
You're not in confession right now with
I keep telling people we need a Trump Pope. And that's my prayer to God. We need a. I'm not saying I want Trump to be Pope. I just think we need a Trump Pope.
No, I don't think Trump.
Matt, that is my sentiment exactly. And I've said this publicly too. You may have heard me say it. I, as a priest, in preaching the gospel and preaching the gospel into the world of politics, have received no encouragement from any church leader like I have received from Donald J. Trump. He's the one who has helped us in the clergy to open our mouths in a way that, we felt we couldn't do before. So God bless him, and that's the kind of leadership.
And there are some good bishops out there, and they stand strong, and we obviously have very good priests and pastors as well who understand. I just had our dear daughter Viana has a friend who's in the seminary, and he looked at me, this young man, and he said, the priests that are coming up, those seminarians, they are strong.
Good.
And they understand the battle that lies ahead for them.
Well, if you want to be a priest today,
it's
your eyes are open to what. Let me ask you a final question here, Father Pavone, with Priests for Life. You have been in this battle your entire adult life. How many years have you been a priest, Father?
I've been a priest since 1988.
Oh, wow.
I can't do the math. I know who was president then. It was George Herbert Walker Bush. But but Father, I have had so many Republicans reach out to me and say, boy, the court is doing this the wrong way. This isn't the right time. This will spoil the midterm success that's right around the corner. And it just leaves me gobsmacked. I always tell them the same thing. I'm like, how many more generations do you want to promise that you will act on this and that we will pick justices that will follow the Constitution? How many more decades do you want to put it off, and how many more babies will die because we do it? It's amazing to me that Republicans still haven't learned the Trump lesson.
You know, they need to learn it. Two quick observations. Number one, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, the time is always right to do right.
Yes.
This is the only right thing, is to end this Holocaust. And the second point pertinent to what you're saying is, pro-life is politically advantageous. It's a winning issue for a candidate to stand up and say, listen, I'm a public servant who, unlike the Democrats, knows the difference between serving the public and killing the public. And here's why I'm pro-life. And going into it, you find the American people are with us, and it does win elections. We would not have the kind of majorities we've been able to win and that we're going to win again in November without this abortion issue and a strong pro-life message.
Yes, and I agree. I think we have to step into the pro-life message. I think we need to own it. I think we need to do a better job of talking to young women, to women, and obviously men, across the country, to say, look, this is about protecting life and the life of the unborn, and this is about changing hearts and minds, and really not getting this into and letting the Democrats win this women narrative as they try to do all the time.
Isn't it funny how they came back to it's being a woman's right,
totally.
and how women are being attacked?
But they can't
when
even
just 2 weeks ago, it was the death of gender, and there were birthing parents, and we're all hateful for believing in gender. Now, all of a sudden, the woman is front and center, and this hypocrisy, when they get to go back and forth, whatever suits their moves,
being
must
the
end.
only woman on the show right now, one of my favorite tweets I've done was on Mother's Day when I told the Biden administration, I'm like, back off of Mother's Day, for crying out loud. Like, the moms don't want to hear birthing people. Like, we are there to love our children, be selfless, and raise our children. We're so proud of being mothers. Don't take that away from us, you liberal, crazy people out there. We're not going to allow it to happen. We're going to be, as the mothers and the children, we are the last line of defense here in America to make sure that we build our families strong, along with our spouses, of course.
Fathers are somewhat important, too.
Very important.
In this mix.
With God in the center. Father Frank Pavone, we thank you. What is the final call to action here and your final prayer to all of those listening and watching?
Get ready for victory. Pray that these justices stay firm. I believe they will. And let's be ready then, with the victory of Roe v. Wade gone, to do more than ever to advance legal protection for the unborn.
Amen. Well, thank you, Father Frank Pavone. You're part of our CPAC family. We really appreciate your spiritual guidance as we face these difficult battles that we're seeing here in the country and across the globe. God bless you, Father.
Thank you for your leadership. God bless you, too.
Thank you all for watching. And remember to follow us on social media at Mercedes Schlapp. I changed her last name.
It's fine.
At Match M. Schlapp or at CPAC. And, there's always something going on, and we are so busy. We have not even been together.
I know.
Because we've been traveling
and let me
across
tell you what
the country.
We're out in Nebraska to help Charles W. Herbster, and that election is today in Nebraska, so we hope Charles can pull it over the goal line. We're going to be going to Pennsylvania, where our vice chairman of CPAC, Charlie Giroux, is running to be the governor of Pennsylvania to get that Republican nomination, so we're going to be going to Pennsylvania, both you and I, to help Charlie out, so you got to help Charlie.
You're going to Georgia for David Perdue?
I'm going to Georgia for David Perdue, because I'm not so much a Governor Kemp fan after that election, and I want Jody Hice to win, and we've got a lot of great congressional candidates over there. Then I'm off to Vegas. So
what are you doing in Vegas?
We're going to sell some books. This book I wrote called The Desecrators. Who would have thought that was like the perfect title? Like what we thought we were talking about was hopefully going to become ancient history with these violent protests that are back. They're going to be in your neighborhoods, unfortunately. And then let's keep your eyes open for the election, because with all of this between rigged and 2,000 mules and all the videos are coming out on all the wrongdoing around the election. I don't know, sweetheart. I feel a little bit like I'm vindicated. And I think a lot of us feel vindicated by the fact that we knew we weren't just making it up.
No, and the key is we've also launched our documentary, The Culture Killers. You can watch it on conservative.org. We're having movie premieres all this summer long. We'll keep you posted on where we're having them. So if you're in the neighborhood, please come join us. We'd love to see you there. It's a great, just 40-minute movie. I got to tell you, I think so far the reviews are coming in very, very strong. People have loved it. And so we're going to be traveling as well all summer long. But I do think, Matt, you bring something up. It is this summer that we could see again this uprise of instability in our cities. And it's very concerning based on what has happened in the past, all in their attempts to try to distract and
only way
and destabilize the elections, which is always
the only way they can prevent the Supreme Court from doing what it seems like they want to do.
Right.
And then the only way they could derail the election success in November is to create this cultural chaos. Who knows what that means in terms of Corona, but it's all going to be at play. And let's just pray that all of our eyes are open this time and we see what they're trying to do and that we resist, because we got to save this country.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for watching, and watch us again tomorrow night. Take care. Good night.
Bye-bye.